Copyright disclaimer: under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. No copyright infringement intended. All rights belong to their respective owners.
This is War Cry. We're on the wall crying out for our children, our communities, our schools, our churches, our families. This is War Cry. Welcome to our reality. Gun violence, Chicago, Philly, Detroit, New York, Atlanta, just to name a few. Our black children are dying day by day. This is War Cry. Police brutality. Hands up! Don't move. I can't breathe. Hashtag Black Lives Matter. Hashtag All Lives Matter to Christ. This is War Cry. Drugs, rape, mass shootings, school violence. This is War Cry. Galvanizing people to pray for our children and to take action. Let's march on Washington. We want prayer back in you. This is War Cry. Cameras, memorials in every corner in our neighborhood. Who died this weekend? Oh no, not Miss Martha's grandson. This is War Cry. He was only 16. His brother died last year. He was only 13. This is War Cry. We the people. We're the elected officials. This is War Cry. We need the church. Where's the church? Only on Sundays. Get to the streets, church. We need you out there. This is War Cry. Girl, be gone. Boy, be gone. Mothers crying. Fathers being locked up. Welcome to our reality. Identity crisis. This is War Cry. Oh, they're trying to remove our history off the textbook. Oh, critical race theory? It makes them feel bad. It's our reality. Fake reality shows. We want the real truth. Stay woke. This is War Cry. HBCUs under attack. This is War Cry. Equal pay for what we do. We want a reparation. This is War Cry. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Wait a minute. Is that somebody else they're burying that looks like us? Only 12. This is War Cry. Oh, let us come together and pray for our young people, pray for our communities, pray for our schools, pray for our churches, pray that the government gives us what we need, a fair opportunity. This is War Cry, home of the brave, land of the free. Who's free? Our men are locked up. This is War Cry. Hashtag mothers against gang violence. Hashtag fathers who love their sons. Hashtag what would Jesus do? This is War Cry.
Yeah.
If you want to see these shows that are not politically correct, then guess what? You go and you look at the unreality shows. This is War Cry. This is War Cry, and we're glad that you decided to make us your number one choice. Thank you very much. We're crying out against some things that you won't hear anywhere else. You won't hear what we speak about. So why don't you spread the word and share the word? No, this is not the old show. No, this is not Sherry Shepherd. No, this is not the unreality Atlanta Housewives. No, this is not cops. This is not CIA. This is War Cry. Make that your number one choice, War Cry. And we're crying out for your children. We're crying out for our people. As you can see, you can hit us up at warcry.children@gmail.com. Send us your children's names so we can put it on our wailing wall, because we want to pray for them. I get up every morning at 4 o'clock calling out the names, but I can't call out your children's names. I can't call out your community's names if you don't send them. warcry.children@gmail.com. This is War Cry. Welcome to our reality, everybody. Welcome to our Black history, as it's every day. Bring in the guests today. We have another exciting show. War Cry. Woo! Bring in my peeps. My peeps are in the house. Hey, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. You know, War Cry is a very unusual station because we're led by the Holy Ghost, and the Holy Ghost gives us things to do, so we're directed. So today we're going to start the show off in a somewhat unusual way. It is, I want everyone on here to think about, we have 12 to 15 billionaires that are this color. I didn't say millionaires. I say billionaires. And we're going to play Name the Billionaire game. See how many of them do you think can we get? Because see, if we start naming these people, we can start writing letters to them and we can get some money. Isn't that right, Valerie? Isn't that right?
That's right.
We want the money. Okay, who wants to go first? Minister Trevor, name who you think is a billionaire, not a millionaire, because we are all millionaires. I'm getting my name on the billionaire list. I'm telling you. So let me just say the first name on the billionaire list is mine, and War Cry. We've knocked everybody else off. We're nationwide. We're global. And guess what? You guys are my global panel. So who do you think is on the billionaire list besides me? Minister T.
Besides me and you, I'm thinking Oprah.
Oprah, yes, you got it right. Okay, Valerie, who you think?
Besides me, you, and the pastor, Barack Obama.
No.
Wow.
I thought so too, but he's not on. Now he's on the millionaire list, but he's not on the billionaire list. Okay. Next, who wants to go next? Who come on next? Who wants to go next?
I say besides us, I'm gonna throw Jay-Z in there.
Yeah, Jay-Z. Okay. Who wants to go next?
Let's see, who else?
Remember, I said between 12 and 15.
Yeah. Who is the guy who did the mamas, the Black Mama, Angry Mama? What's the name of his?
Tyler
Perry. Yes, Tyler Perry.
Yeah, Tyler Perry is on the list. So is Rihanna is on the list. Magic Johnson is on the list. Michael Jordan is on the list. Tiger Woods is on the list. LeBron James is on the list. David Shepard, who is the founder of Worldwide Technology, is on the list. And the first Black billionaire was a woman. Her name was Sheila Johnson, BET. She beat Oprah on the list. So now we got it. We know the billionaires, not the millionaires, but the billionaires that are on the list. So we know who got the money. So we know who got the money. So it wouldn't hurt them to separate themselves with a couple $1 million to help us out.
Right.
What do you say, Minister T? What do you think, Mr. Trevor? You think it'll hurt them to separate? Give us $1 million?
It wouldn't hurt them at all. They wouldn't even miss it.
Mm-mm.
They wouldn't miss it. So what we're going to say is lose the money.
I know that's
Help
right.
your people. We need your help. Lose the money. Lose it now. You don't need that much to live. We got people living off of $25 a week, and you got billions of dollars.
Hello.
Lose the money. And it's a lot of millionaires also in Africa. So we lose the money. Lose it now. Because we got organizations that need your help. Rihanna, we got organizations that need your help. JC, matter of fact, Brooklyn Marcy Project need your help.
Absolutely.
We need your help.
That's
We got people dying on the streets that if you could build a building that helped the mayor put the homeless in it, first our peaks, before you do the immigrants, let's take our peaks off the street first. And then we can help everybody else. So this is War Cry. We got a great show. We got a great show. I want you guys just to go by and just take 2 minutes and introduce yourself, starting with you, Noble.
Thanks for having me. So my name is Noble. I'm formerly incarcerated. I'm the senior director of programming for TPP, what's a Transformational Prison Project, an organization that was created by the men that was incarcerated. Now that I'm home, the goal is to continue doing the work within my community, turning places of harm into places of healing.
Okay, going to you, Martin, Violet Martin.
Good morning. My name is Violet Martin. I am a community leader with Metro Organization for Racial Equality here in Wyandotte County, Kansas. And also the sister of formerly incarcerated Brian Betts and Celeste McKinney.
Okay. All right, going to you, Pastor, and then we're going to Dr. Eric. Pastor. He's on mute. You got to come off mute, Pastor. That was my problem.
Yeah.
Okay, Dr. Eric, you go on while the pastor is still trying to find mute. You know, we in the church kind of slow. Okay.
All peace and blessings to everyone on the show here and out in here in the community. My name is Eric Laudet. I am one of the members of the Fathers Forward Incorporated. I have my own organization called the New Urban Species or the Endangered Species of the urban centers. Now, I am providing services for families, particularly fathers and sons, and I'm focusing on the fathers and organizing us fathers to look at ourselves and to become the best fathers that we can be. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Who's got Pastor? Can you go next?
You have to hit the volume. I mean, the unmute.
Okay, Pastor. Okay. Now we got another exciting, dynamic show. Minister T, you go on.
Yeah, well, I've been in education probably for about 35 years. I've always been interested in our children, and not only in education, I'm also interested in the deaf population of our students that are deaf and hard of hearing. I've always been interested in moving our children forward, you know, getting SATs, getting ACTs, getting college applications so they can go, going into the urban communities who feel that they can't get that. These things that I'm concerned about, that our children are not moving forward the way that they should be moving forward. So that's been my concern with our children, not getting the proper education, not having the proper tools that they need to be successful in an academic setting.
Okay, Pastor, are you ready?
Hello, you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Pastor.
Well, I must say I am a pastor, and since this is Black History Month, I want everyone to know that the first Black man that brought Pentecostalism in the United States was a man by Reverend Dr. I call him a doctor, William Seymour. He brought Pentecostalism in the United States, in the world. As a matter of fact, This was the greatest move of God in the 21st century. Never seen anything like that has ever happened, and we need to accentuate that. A lot of people don't talk about it. A lot of churches don't talk about it. Some are prejudiced against Pentecost and all that stuff, but we need to tell our story. That's what we need to do. We need to tell our story. Don't allow them to tell your story, and we need to do it in the home. All of my kids know their history. As a matter of fact, one of them almost got kicked out of school because he corrected the teacher. You see, I made sure that, and I went there and went back to the school. And when I went to the school, she was acting like she knows everything. I said, ma'am, I look her straight in the face and says, you are dumb to our history. You don't know my history. You don't even know your history. And she said, oh, yes, you don't. Because if you know your history, you know your history is my history. So,
all right. Okay, you can see you can get the church. We always have the church on. Always got to have the church on. Now, we want to focus on 3 words: restitution, reparation, restitution, reparation, and guess what?
Can you hear
restoring? These are some restitution, restoration, and we want to restore. Now, we're not using those words anymore. A friend of mine, before we get into the show, I just want to say this. He put on his Facebook page, if you could send Ukraine and Israel all this money, why can't you pay us some restitution?
Yeah.
That's
he
right.
said, could anybody answer? And he happens to be a bishop. He said, could anybody answer this question on Facebook? Maybe y'all need to go to Google. But if you could send trillions of dollars to Ukraine and trillions of dollars to Israel, then why can't you have the federal government print up some money and give us some restitution? Don't say that you don't know how to do it because you gave us a stimulus check. You could do it the same way.
Yes.
So we got to think restitution and reparation. That's what we want. Let's go to the video because this is going to bring us right into Noble. It gives us a little history on who he is and his organization.
My name is Armand Coleman, and I'm the executive director of the Transgenerational Prison Project. I grew up in Queens, New York, and my life at that time was one of housing instability, where I was ping-pong between 12 different housing assignments before the age of 13, with 6 stints at my alcoholic grandparents' home. My grandparents' home was a 3.5 bedroom house, which we shared with 13 different people. I shared a room with 4 of my uncles, and my room was where they stashed their drugs and stashed their guns. But I wanted to be like my uncles. Having no other role models or no other persons to be like, I actually eventually followed them into the street life. One thing my family always stressed was the importance of not snitching. You don't tell on a family member or anyone for that matter. I learned that lesson the hard way at the age of 5 when I made the mistake snitching on my uncle to my grandfather. When my uncle found out, he hit me in the back of the head with a brick. This landed me in the hospital. What was really painful about the situation was not that I was hit in the head with the back of a brick, but when my mother found out and she asked me what happened, I explained to her, her brother had hit me in the back of the head with a brick. And I remember her response being, that's why you don't tattle. So I learned at an early age that you don't tell and that it was okay to hit somebody in the back of the head if they did tell. Fast forward 12 years later, I would hit somebody in the back of the head with a bullet with fatal results. I was 17 and he was 18. I was sentenced to life and I would spend the next 28 years in prison. 2 decades in maximum security prison, a decade plus in solitary confinement. Just take that in. I was 17 years old. When I entered prison, I was the youngest person in the prison. When I left maximum security prison, I was one of the oldest persons in the prison. In 2013, 20 plus years into my incarceration, I was transferred to MCI Norfolk. I spent the last 8 years of my sentence at MCI Norfolk. This is where I was introduced to something called restorative justice and the restorative justice group. There were men that I knew, loved, and respected that were part of this group. And I saw how it was changing their lives. And I knew that my life was in need of changing. It was through these healing circles that the restorative justice group was putting on that I learned that my life was a roadmap of traumas. One thing I also learned is that the system was broken and in desperate need of transformation. While the criminal justice system focuses on the accused and the state, restorative justice is centered on the harm and the person responsible for causing the harm. Restorative justice looks at the bigger picture and has at its heart healing, communication, and community and restoration. It addresses issues that lead to healing, true healing. It was through restorative justice at MCI Norfolk that I met 3 other men who work with me presently. Brilliant men with similar but different histories of my own, Bobby, Eric, and Noble. And together we hosted a restorative justice programming, delivering restorative justice services to the prison's younger demographic. It was at MCI Norfolk that we prototyped our model at the Transgenerational Prison Project. And we saw that we wanted to bring this model beyond the walls into society. For 7 years, we collectively led this programming of young men, prototyping our model. We walked and talked with the young men and took feedback and adjusted our program accordingly. We knew that what we were doing behind the wall had real-world application. And we knew that when we were out of prison, we would share this model to a world that was hurting. And there was a lot of work to be done. While the U.S. has only 5% of the world's population, we had 25% of the world's incarcerated. Right now, there are 1.2 million people incarcerated in the United States. 1,200 are incarcerated here in Massachusetts. Of the 650,000 Americans returning from prison to their communities each year, 2,500 return to society each year here in Massachusetts. While the Transgenerational Prison Project was founded in 2013, it was a volunteer-led program on the outside and a prisoner-led program on the inside. Noble, Eric, Bobby, and I were all benefactors of restorative justice programming while incarcerated, and this programming led to our freedom in varying ways. And in January of 2021, we were all hired as the first formerly incarcerated directors of the Transgenerational Prison Project. But we were hired at the height of the pandemic, and we were not allowed to go into prisons. So instead of giving up, we grew up, and we had to pivot, and we expanded our work. This is our model. While at the heart of TP works are prisoners and survivors of harm, with the pandemic, we expanded our work to include classrooms, courtrooms, and boardrooms, introducing the tools of restorative justice dialogue and restorative justice as a team-building leadership model. We do this by connecting to individual trauma in all the ways that it shows up, acknowledging the wrongs that individuals have committed and owning it, making amends with those who have been victimized, and making meaning of the problems, and also building human connection to help individuals continue to process and heal and thrive. This leads to a life in a world of empathy, accountability, compassion, and most importantly, healing. We do this in 3 ways. The core of our work is in the Massachusetts prisons, holding restorative justice healing circles, not only with those responsible for harm, but also with individuals who have been impacted by harm, law enforcement, and the community. Secondly, with community circles, working in partnership with the law schools from Harvard to Northeastern and Columbia, we are impacting the future stewards of the legal system and corporations like Redfin, team-building programs to help their companies lead with purpose and empathy.
Okay, we're going to bring one of the founders on right now, Mr. Noble. We're going to bring you on right now so you can help fill in the blanks. We want to. All right, I want to just have a segue in. Now, tell us something about Transformational Prison Project. How did you get started? We've seen it on the video, but come on, get up front with us on War Cry.
So how I got started is and so I lived a life of trauma, like my whole life growing up, from my childhood, growing up in the projects in the city of Boston. I was governed by trauma that was untreated, never looked at, never had resources or support when it came to me really helping myself with what I'm going through, what I'm witnessing and seeing, and also understanding what is my identity in America. So it led me on a path of hurting people because I was hurting, which led me to be committing a crime which I'm responsible for. And me being incarcerated, and this is how I got involved with this work. The reason why I got involved with the work is because these men was running a program, but it's more of a program, it's more of a way of life, right? To be restorative is something you have to practice every single day. And it was the first time I was ever sat in a space with a bunch of men that reflect me, look just like me, and realizing that I found my voice for the first time. And to go
Okay,
back.
let me come in. Let me come in for a minute. What does it mean to be restored? We know it's restorative justice, but break that down. What really does that mean to be restored?
So to be restored for me for us is working on your healing, right? Because before I committed my first crime, was so many crimes committed against me first, and really understanding all the different nuance from slavery, the generational racism. That's a lot of trauma that really plays a lot on the psyche. And being in prison, that's modern day slavery. They had the ability to strip search me anytime they wanted to. They weaponized strip searching me as a tool to dehumanize me, right? So now I'm dealing with all these things. I'm in survival mode in America, in my neighborhood. Now I'm in prison in survival mode, dealing with racism. So really, I started to really hate myself. And to be restored, right, is to go back to the genesis of I don't believe no child is born evil, right? It's with the circumstances that we're under and the resources that we don't have put us in the path where we have to just do the best we could possibly do. So restoring for me is me just working through all my childhood trauma and working towards being a better person every single day and repairing the harms that I created. Right, I was a broken boy.
Now, let me come in again with another question. When was the first time, at what age was the first time that you committed a crime?
I will say I was probably like 14. And so we just
14.
I just bring you to that. I grew up in a very abusive household. With my stepfather beating me, my mother. It was very abusive. So my biggest dream was to grow older and get bigger to fight back. And that's the day I had the courage and I mustered the courage to fight back was the day that I attacked my stepfather. And that's was the first time I was introduced, like my first crime.
Because let me just say something. A lot of our young Black men are in the same position that you were in. And I thank God that you're not in that. And we have a lot of programs that's going back to try to identify the traumas and to try to cure the traumas and to try to bring them to a place of restoration. And for some reason, it's not working. That's why your testimony is so strong. And they just go in and out of a system because there's nothing there to keep them from committing a crime. Now, I'm going to just right now open up to the panel. Panel, you have any questions? Violet, any questions?
What are some of the programs or resources that you work with to assist the young that have went through these traumas and also that are also incarcerated because they're adjudicating kids to adults. So what programs do you have for those young people, young men that have been put in that situation?
So we have an 8-week reading group, and we also do training on teaching people about restorative justice. And the 8-week reading group is off the book Continues to Hurt, and it deals with childhood trauma. And what makes it effective is this: I had no social worker or mental health person ever reflect me, never look like me, don't understand where I'm coming from, never spent the day in the neighborhood. What make this efficient is because Amon, he's executive director, right? He is someone that reflects me. He is someone that understands what I've been through and what I'm going through. And that's what makes, because right now we're in the juvenile facility and we're going, the same facility I was locked up in as a juvenile, at the same facilities that we go in today and work with the youth. And the one thing the youth always say is like, you look just like me. And I've been through exactly what they've been through, what they're going through. So it's really that component of trust, right? We have, America has a history of mistrust. And so how do you connect that gap? So we're basically the ones that help create that bridge. We create relationships with other organizations and people in the community that we feel to have the integrity and trustworthy, and then we bring them to our population to further aid and assist us. Really, it's the building the trust and repairing the harm that was created by these systems, and that's why they're not trusted at all.
Okay.
Now, question: do you have therapists and social workers to
Yes.
assist them when they come out of facilities?
So we call them wellness guides, because as we know, therapists, mental health is triggering, right? Because all they do is create harm. So our wellness guides, which some of them are licensed, they are trained by us through restorative justice practices. And for example, usually when you sit down with a therapist, it's more like your case log. They ask you all these questions, but the difference is we humanize it. How about we go out for coffee? Let's go and have lunch, and let's get to know each other. Because you're taught in school they ain't supposed to share nothing, shit on themselves. So how can you build something with someone you don't even know their favorite color or what their favorite movie is? So we have our own wellness guys that have been trained by TPP that are doing a fantastic job, and the goal is to bring more and to train more, right? To really help them go through their own trauma as well, because all these different job titles they have, they are creating harm and they're also going through harm themselves. So they have the first thing they have to do the self work first before we can all come to the table and move forward.
Okay, because one of the things in our neighborhoods, as you know, being Black, is snitches get what?
It gets
stitches.
Stitches, yes. Stitches, yeah.
Yeah, you know, and as we looked at the video, one of the founders had said that his mother told him, see, that teaches you not to tell. See, because we as a people, we are tight-lipped. You're right. We don't know how to trust because we haven't been taught to trust. Well, the people we trust drop us. Okay, Minister T, come in. You got a question?
Yeah, I wanted to know, sir, and maybe you answered this and I didn't hear it. What do you do prior to that? Do you guys go into the school perhaps and have an assembly and talk to the young people? Do you know when you're talking to people or talking to young people, can you identify by just having a conversation with them that there's trauma going on in their lives?
Yeah, because I definitely can, because I spent 10 years incarcerated. So as men are coming home, as women come home, we're connected. I get the phone calls. We grew up in it, so we already know who's so we're in the neighborhoods, our neighborhoods. So the thing is, and one thing about the youth, they know when you BSing. They can smell from a mile away. They know it's like, okay, if he's the real. And what we did was what the leaders did inside was they was focused on those that had the biggest reputations, the ones that said they can never change, right? And I was one of those products of that. People looked at me like, oh, Noble's going to spend the rest of his life in the streets, or he's going to be dead or do life in prison. And the fact, because I was also formerly in the streets, I started my own gang at a very young age. And the fact that I walked away from the streets led other young men to walk away from the streets as well. So it's that credibility is very important. And when it comes to and we create a safe space. We ask everyone, what do you need to feel safe and comfortable within this space? Confidentiality is a must, or we cannot move forward together. So it's really about building that trust. And the youth they know, like, if you've been through something or you just playing around or you're serious. So the fact that we survived the prison system, we survived modern day slavery, we're home and we're giving back to our community, and we're connected with them because they are me and I am them.
Okay, no, but I have a question. Then after me, I'm going to let Pastor come in. In our public schools, especially the urban schools, our social workers, our guidance teachers, our principals can tell when our children are having problems. And you know, one of the quickest way to tell is by the absenteeism, by the way they look, by they're not coming to school, the attendance falling down, by them taking stuff. Now, has the schools ever contacted you and said that we see that Jamar is not, he's missed 20 days out of school within the last 2 months. We went to his house and see that he's moved. So there's some dysfunctionality. Or one of his parents have been put in jail. He's hanging out with a gang. Do they ever come to you with that type of information, Noble?
I say we're working right now with Boston Public Schools, and what we're working on is to create a restorative program that's being created by the students themselves. So the thing is, what a lot of time people focus on these big degrees and people that went to school, but really the students know what's needed to fix that. So we actually have conversations with the students and what it takes for them to really, how do they deal with suspensions? How do they deal with reaching out for help? Because a lot of times when you reach out for help, they just send you to another system, which is DCF, and then you get taken out your home. And then now you're dealing with all these different things. That's why it shuts a lot of people down, and a lot of parents down, because these systems that you're telling is not trustworthy, and all it's about is a money grab, and it's destroying your life even more. So we build trust with the students and the schools, but we also give the voices to those that's being that's dealing with the most impact parties are the ones that should be leading the conversations, should be building these programs, and having the solutions. And that's what makes TPP successful, because we are the impact parties that's leading the march.
Because sometimes we're told that during the ages from the 4th grade to the 6th grade is a critical age in regards to our young Black men and even our girls getting interested in games. So I just want to bring that. Pastor, you want to say something, Pastor?
Yes. Before COVID, when COVID hit, I had a program that I started on my own. I went to the government and I didn't like what they demand of me, so I started a program on my own. The program was to teach kids. I'm a biomedical engineer by a career, and what I was going to do, is to teach young men how to repair medical equipment and to get them placed in the hospitals and home care centers and nursing homes and stuff like that, to do that type of work, and good salary and everything. But COVID kind of stopped me. So now I'm ready to put that together. And what it is that I take the people in, have all the equipment, I have all the test equipment, everything, to teach them how to service these medical equipment so they can go. And I have had proof of those who have come through me who are now working in hospitals, making lots of money and doing real good. And these are people who have been incarcerated, people who have been in trouble. And I work with them. I teach them how to fix concentrators, how to fix ventilators, how to fix EKG machines. That's type of work I do. I go around and teach them, have little seminars to teach them how to do this. And I've been very successful until COVID. So now I'm ready to start it back up at 110 Walcott Street. That's where my church is. And I'm ready to set the shop up again, so for them, they can come in and do it. I really don't want to go with the government, because the government set a whole bunch of stipulation on you, and I'm not into that mess. I rather take my own money, or what the money I raise, and do it for myself and help people. And I have a list of guys who is now working in the system, who is doing great, making good money. I have a good family. I have a record to show it. I don't talk about it because I just one of the
be about it. You be about it.
You be about, and that's what War Cry is about.
Beer. I have a large area.
That's what War Cry is about, connecting people together to bring about a change. That's what we are about. No, but you heard his program. Maybe it's something that you could use, because he's training. See, one of the things that, I'm going to turn over to Dr. Eric, that I think that our young boys and young girls need is ways to make money by using their hands.
Yes.
You know, we need to bring our trades back, our carpenters, our brick masons, our welders, our plumbers. You know, because if they have a trade, they can open a business and become an entrepreneur and be able to sustain and give others jobs. See, we're about building generational wealth at this point. Now, this is not taken away from the Black colleges or for all our lawyers, doctors, and Indian chiefs. I salute you. But our kids that have been incarcerated, our kids that's coming out, need to learn how to work with their minds. They had their hands on the weapons. Now we need to put them on the welding torches. Okay, Dr. Eric, you.
I am so impressed with both you, Reverend Gray, and especially you, Noble, and your partners. I do have questions, and I do have some suggestions. and I would like to be a part of this program, so I need a little bit more information. However, recidivism. We had someone here last week talking about what the recidivism issues are, and when people are coming out of prisons, there is really no one to receive them. In my doctoral program, we had a few people who were working with the prisons and how to get people prepared to come out because they're not ready. Do you all have any kind of program or situation where you actually receive these brothers who come out of the program or out of prison or who are released, and what we have set up for them? Because they definitely need the help of the education and a cell phone.
Amen.
So I say, we've been working towards that. So our social workers, or our wellness guides, as we raise more money, be able to hire more and train more. So we're doing it on a small level of as far as them going in there, working with people, going to their parole hearings, and helping them transition when they come home. The biggest component is that they need us. They need the ones that have been formerly incarcerated. Right, me coming home after 10 years, I'm dealing with anxiety. I trust issues. Every system that's inside in the communities in the prison. I've been dehumanized by the dentists, by the doctors, by the nurses. Coming home, I don't want to deal with none of them, right? And then now your PO's telling you gotta get a job. I'm a father and a husband. Now I'm getting my life back in order. I'm trying to figure all these things out all at the same time. You know, so it's like you need people that's trained. That but also you need people that have lived experience, because I get the phone calls by the men and women 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and what makes our stuff unique is that our wellness guys is on call 24/7, right? And you need help, and the times you need help is when all the companies are shut down 9 to 5. Down when you're really going through what you're going through in life. So we are open book, and our phones is open throughout the whole night.
Okay. Well, I'd like to get
and we want to raise some money for you, brother. We want to raise some money for you to help the work you're doing. Now, Noble, one question before I let Valerie come on and then put you back on. Did they give you any mental health treatment when you was locked up? Because being in jail really messes with your psyche.
Yes, it does.
Did you see a mental health specialist? How is that in jail?
So when I went to mental health for the first time, it was a young white woman. I was probably older than her, and I explained to her probably between the age of 8 to 10 years old, me and my mother witnessed a person get murdered right in front of us, and we never got no help with services. And she said, "I'm fine, nothing wrong with me," and she gave me a puzzle to do, and I never went back ever again.
Jesus.
Okay, I wanted to get that out. Valerie, do you have any question before I turn it back over to Noble to finish? Tell us something, Valerie. Let me know. Did your brother get any mental health issues when he was in jail, or did he get any services when he came out?
Brian did 25 and a half years. Unfortunately, they call it a exit screening, and here it's called the Ohio Risk Assessment, and that is to see the percentage or score of going back to prison, pretty much. And my brother, he was like, I don't need all that. I talked to my what do they call it, unit team leader and the therapist, and they told him he was okay. And I have been working in reentry since 2012 in a halfway house. There is no way that anyone, even after 1 year, does not have PTSD. Okay. These guys will stand in front of a soda machine and can't believe it's a robot, that gives them their drink. I've had one guy go off because he thought that the machine gave him a counterfeit coin. And I'm like, no, years back, they changed the quarters to states, each state had their own quarter, and Brian did not get the help that he needed. So what he did was just kind of latch on to people, unfortunately, that have some mental health issues too, So I'm learning, because I'm in probation and parole, and we're getting away from the officer label and we're going into the case management level, and I can say that works better because it's not that 2-minute interview with your client and okay, go ahead, get a job and stuff like that. We have resources now, mental health, health, dental, vision, family-oriented resources. We have something called KC Scholars, where because some people have trauma, they can't just be around large groups in class settings, so they can do more one-on-ones with therapists and teachers. We have it where they get health care and everything for a whole year for free, even if they got employment. We have programs where single mothers and their children can be in a program. Daycare centers right there in the building. School buses pull up and pick the children up to take those weights off of people. Like Noble said, we have to now go in the community. So some of my clients, I meet them either at home because clients have health issues, trauma. Then we meet them at the library, and we do rent out a room, so they still have that confidentiality, but also see that I'm a person and I see them as a person, So what I can say, it's a learning lesson, because we're going into neighborhoods that we know is shoot 'em up, bang, bang, and we in vests, and those things set you apart, and I don't want to be like that. So I try to meet the clients where they're at, growing up in the inner city, losing my only brother, to the system. Those things, like he said, you have to bend and went through it to be able to have empathy, for these people, and not judge them, and offer them the resources, and not continue to be the part of the system that oppresses them.
To you, Valerie, the percentage of women versus men, is it still almost 10-1? With 10 men to every.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Our women population is rising. Because a lot of the sad part is the man who is the head and the responsible person that's supposed to be there, they're not men, they're males, they're boys still, because they have, went through so much trauma, they don't know how to take their position in a healthy way. Okay. Mm-hmm. So unfortunately, again, that is the destruction of the family. And it's heartbreaking to see. I've been married going on 10 years, and I can see the impact that it did even for me, because I grew up in a single household with a working mama, and she was going to school, I see it as a true blessing, that I have broken that generational curse, and my sons and my daughters, to see the joy that when their daddy comes home, that even feeds my soul. That even helps keep me at peace, and to know my home is, God is here, and unfortunately, when you have so much trauma and you don't have an outlet or someone that you can attach to show you that love, you're going to continue that cycle. And like Noble said, when I go into the office, them people know if I'm full of BS, so if I say I'm going to do something, I got to stand on that, and sometimes you look on and you like, man, how can I even help these people, because I'm pouring a lot of me out, so you have to go back home and, work your brain and talk to God and talk to your spouse, somebody that can help you through. And I thank God, even through COVID, I had built relationships with people I had never seen face, and that to me was so rewarding, because once we could go back into the community and take the face mask off, I've already developed a rapport with these people. Now it's a connection physically. And that's what we need to get our clients and the youth and people and families involved in.
Good. Noah, come back up to the big screen. What are the ages that you deal with, Noah? Continue to tell us a little bit more. What are the ages you deal with in that population? Do you deal with anyone coming out, juveniles, prisons, or what? Go ahead, Noah.
So we got 2 regions right now going 5 facilities. And one of the units is the unit from the they can be held from the age of 13 to 20. And on one unit is a lot of the youth in there, a lot of the young people is dealing with a loss of life case that they dealing with, right? So we're in there, we do circles, we do mentors. So from juveniles, right? Then we also from I'm not saying juveniles, from the young people, right? From 13 to 20. Also in the House of Correction, work on a unit there from working with young people from the age of, I want to say 18 to 24. But then we also deal with men and women coming home as well. So it's really, so it's from 13, say 13 to like 60. Because we also have something called digital literacy, where just three of the men alone was over 100 years of time. Just in that group, just 3 men alone did more than over 100 years, and we was teaching them how to use their cell phones, how to get on Zoom, how to do applications, because a lot of the people that's coming home, they've been in there since they was a child. So think about someone going like my executive director. He went at the age of 17 and coming home 28 years later. I'm talking about this is your first relationship, first time having your license, first time having your own apartment, first time going through life on your own for the first time ever. And people look at, as these men and women come home, like, oh, you should know all these things. So you're being dehumanized already from the community. They're like, oh, you should know how to do this. How you know this, how you know that, right? And now I was struggling with that too. I did 10 years. And not long, my son was able to help me teach me how to use an iPhone, right? But so you don't have these resources and people's looking at you like you should already know all these things. It makes it kind of hard to ask for help. But it ranges from the youth all the way to adults that we work with.
Now we're trying to change the language in New York. Instead of saying prisoners or they just got out of jail, we're trying to use the language of returning citizens. Now, I don't know if that's a better language, but it sounds a lot better than he just got out of jail or he was in prison or so we're trying to make it a little bit more user friendly. And we have this thing also called block the box, where when they go and apply for a job, that the person can't ask them right there if they've ever been in jail. Now, what they can do is they can still run a background check on them, but it's been people who have had skills that once they check that box, they don't get no farther than that. So they try to do that to help the returning citizens back. Do you know anything about those things that's trying to be given as a help tool, Noble?
That's what we do at TPP. Our goal really is to grow and scale. And I knew I was going to get the job I wanted to take care of my family the way I need to. And we didn't know that this work was going to turn to be this big. We just knew that we was going to come home and bring healing to our community. That's all we knew, and it ended up turning into everything we're doing today. So we want to be able to be that landing path for when people do come home to get them benefits and get them a good job. We don't have to work about 3 or 4 or 5 jobs. And I say on word.
Now let me ask a question. In Boston, do you still have, if a person fills an application that they ask, have you ever been incarcerated before?
I don't think
so.
I think that law's passed out here too. At the same time, you have Google. To me, it just another thing that they just changed the name, because on the real reality is, even if they don't have it on there, all they gotta do is Google my name, and a lot of times that's where their background checks come from anywhere just from Googling. I just want to say one quick thing, like words are very powerful. So we do say responsible party. We don't say convict or anything like that. And we also do, some people say returning citizen. I like to use returning community member. The reason why I use an I statement is because I consider myself a citizen when I'm able to exhaust every amendment in the Constitution. Until then, I consider myself a returning community member, because words are powerful, and I would love to be a citizen one day, right? But it comes back from me getting all my rights back and so forth.
Now, rights back. Are we also speaking about that that when people commit felonies, that they can't even get a student loan or a government loan?
I want to be able to utilize every amendment, right? Like every other citizen has the ability to do.
Yes. Now, when you what did you say, Noble?
That's I also pay a lot of taxes too.
Yeah, we pay a lot of taxes. Now, we had a person on last week, Mr. Glenn Simmons from Oklahoma. He had been in jail for 48 years, got exonerated, came out, and guess what? The state of Oklahoma didn't give him anything. Now, when you get out of jail there in Boston, what does the Boston do for its returning citizens?
That's the reason why TPP is now creating the reentry component. When I came home, some people come into the prisons and said, we're going to help you do this, that, and the third. When I came home, it was a myth. It didn't exist. And if they do, it's not enough room for everybody. Listen, that's why we're doing what we're doing today, because of what they say is there. It's really not there. And it's really about who you know. You know, it's about who you know to get any resources. It's not like, so that's the big thing. So what we're doing, we're creating that as as they say, building the plane while we're flying it. That's what we're doing. And we've been a lot of support behind it. We're going to continue doing it.
Okay, now tell me this. What happens if a man or a woman have children and they have never been a parent? How do you work to help a man develop? Because he's been incarcerated a long period of time. He doesn't know how to share. Maybe he still cares, but because of the trauma he went through, now you've got to marry him up with his family. You've got to marry him up with his environment or his community. You've got to marry him up with getting a job. What do you do?
The first step is working through their trauma. That's the first step, really, honestly. You can have the best job, you can have all the money in the world, you can have all the support. You're still dealing with everything you're dealing with in the psyche. It really don't. It's like you're building the sand, foundation on sand. So just is rooted in dealing with your trauma. So every man and woman that come home, we work on themselves first. Right, my mother's always say to me, "Man, you gotta do you." I'm like, "How am I gonna do me? What about JJ?" And she's like, "No, once you're situated, your son's gonna be fine." And so I had to have those conversations. I'm not a young man. I was incarcerated as a juvenile when my son was first born. My son's 19. I'm 36 years old today. Right, so I also had to raise my son through phone calls and letters. And coming home, my son was actually in the same, repping the same neighborhood that I is one of the founders of at that time. I had to transition him out of the streets. I had to rebuild a relationship with him, and I had to do it with patience and understanding that, you know what, the trauma, I went through trauma, so I know he's dealing with trauma. I left him out there in the community by himself to fend for himself. So me and him have to continue working on building our relationship. Sometimes parents, old school, was like, I'm the father, you the child, the places. Nah, we got to start having these conversations with our children. What do they need, and how can we make this a safe environment for all of us? And them also having to say so on how we move forward together.
Now, for those listeners who have taken this old attitude that my son got in trouble, my daughter got in trouble, and I'm going to leave them there. I'm not going to visit them. They did it. They do the crime. They do the time. What would you say to those listeners?
I say, all it do is harmful. It is extremely harmful, because I want you to really think like they have full control over our minds and our bodies. And if you look at the science of youthful brain development, right? As a parent, we're supposed to be there and nurture our children all the way through. And if my son do something, I know I play a part because I am part of that being a role model. I do play a part on what school he goes to. I do play a part on what community that he's going to be in. Like, do I got him in sports or not? I can't make excuses on I have to work all these different jobs and I'll be an absent family, because it takes all of us together to be successful and to be healthy. Leaving your child, it creates so much trauma, so much animosity, and it's dehumanizing, right? To leave your child, your baby, not your grown person, your baby, to fend for themselves. I'm already been fending for
Now
myself in life, right? And this is the outcome of me doing all this time in prison.
Now, because you went there, and there have been people who never got a visit, never got a letter, never got any help, which made them mad. Is that true?
Oh yes, it is. It is true, because you have to, when you're in prison, you got to pay for your food. You got to pay for for letters, for phone calls. It's not like everything's handed to you. You get two soaps. I mean, you get 2 toilet papers a week. 2 toilet papers a week you get from the COs will give you. If you want more, you got to pay for that. So like, having no support at the lowest of your life, and then coming home to everyone, oh yeah, I'm here to help you. Like, I don't want to listen to that. I'm not going to listen to it. And one thing I want to say is that when I was doing wrong, or when I was up and I was hustling, everyone was around, people wanted money, they wanted this. But as soon as things hit the fan, everyone just disappeared. Right. So it's like it should be both. Support should be on both ends. Just because you support a person don't mean you can't still hold them accountable. Restorative justice, when it comes to accountability, it's about repairing that harm. Right. And how you teach people to repair that harm. And also it takes a collective, because whatever I did affects my family and my whole community.
Okay. Now, as a parent, if I had my child incarcerated in Boston, I could come to your organization and I could say, listen, I need your help, and you could go and help me.
It depends on what the help is, right? Because we're like 3 years young, because I've been home going on 4 years, so we're now in leadership of our organization. So is it like you need help on people to come support you at court? Do you need a letter of support? Do you need someone to help you understand and navigate on the system? Because that's one thing I don't think any parent can ever prepare for, is navigating all these different systems when your child's going in there. They get lost in these systems. So also we can give you a picture around people that's also going through what you're going through, right? Which is also a support group that's needed. So you don't feel alone, or you don't feel ostracized when you're there supporting your child. Because a lot of times this is what takes place, right? If your child commit a crime and you're going to court supporting your child, that parent is being looked at and being dehumanized. And she's also a survivor herself. You know what I'm saying? But the person I've been harmed, they got all the support. But how about the family that, oh, my child, this son, I should have support too, because I ain't the one that committed the crime. But I'm treated as if I'm the one that committed. So we got to really start humanizing both parties and bringing everyone together. So we'll be able to give you aid to assist you, depends on what it is, but we'll definitely have answers, because the whole team is all formerly incarcerated, so we survived it.
Okay, now I want you to visit my son. I want you to go in and visit him too. Will you go in and visit him?
So it depends on what prison is at, because Massachusetts, we're still working on getting back into the DOC, right? And so we run programming, but the way it works, like once you visit, like say once I visit your child, I'm no longer can run program in that prison. So if he's in that prison and he's going through the program that we're running, or we could also have someone else that's not run a program to go support like that, which would be one of our wellness guides. So the goal is that they have more wellness guides trained through Restorative Justice by TPP, so we can have them doing all that work, going into the prisons and doing the visits. Because at the same time, I'm still fully operated, so they're looking at me like, in their eyes, oh, I'm probably trying to bring in some drugs. I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to do that. So we're still working on that stigma on how they view us once we come back into our community and they look at, oh, this man or woman has been formerly incarcerated.
Okay, now how many people are employed and working with you guys? And then how are you funded?
Okay, so the leadership is me, Amon, Bobby, we got Stacia and Zoe. So we have 5 people that's employed right now. Out of the 5, 3 of us is formerly incarcerated, which is all in leadership. We got our fellow Tommy, and Ronnie's one of our coordinators as well. So it's just us. So we're in DYS, we're in the House of Corrections, we're in the community, we're also in schools as well. So we do work at Harvard Harvard School, law school students. We're in Northeastern's BU, Columbia University. I actually taught 7 semesters there on School of Social Work, on transformative justice, restorative justice, abolition. And so just a handful of us that's in all these communities and doing all this work. How we get our funding? We get our funding through grants, and also looking for donors to really help and support our work. The biggest thing we've been coming across is like, we got integrity too. We gave some money back in the past as well. The reason why we gave money back, we really need the funding, but we're not okay with surrendering our identity and allowing someone to run and take over our organization because they give us some funding, right? Because then we become just like a nonprofit or any other organization. So it's really through grant writing and creating partnerships within the community. And we're also looking for some more funders that's willing to go to the work, learn about the work, but also be a part of the work with us.
Okay, now if some of our listeners, and I'm sure all our panel want to donate somebody, tell me, how do we donate?
So you just have the website on there. So if you go to Transformational Prison Project, we also have a page where it says you could donate now. And so you have the prescription you could do monthly, weekly, annually. And then we also have, we're working on raising money as well. We're doing a Mother's Day Walk for Peace, which is, we do it once a year. And it's like, I love it, the fact that formerly incarcerated people are walking for peace with mothers that lost their child to gun violence, right? This is what community should look like. And this is what we're doing in real time every single day. So please definitely go to the website, transformationalprisonproject.org, and you could donate. We also have our IG page and our Facebook page, which is TPP, or Transformational Prison Project.
Now, for all those panel members or anyone that want anything else from Noble and Transformational Prison Projects, please hit us up on our email, warcry.children@gmail.com, and I'll give you that information so it can be passed on to him. Now, I see Dr. Gorday. He's almost about to jump out of his seat. Dr. Gorday, any questions?
I'm a licensed clinical social worker and a psychotherapist, and I would like to know how I could be part of that organization so that I can provide some services for you. I was in the military. I know what post-traumatic stress disorder is. I have been working with the VA for quite some time now. I'm out, and I'm working with fathers and sons. So I feel that there is a connection, and I'd like to become one of the part of your coalition.
I would love for us to connect. If you can send all my information, let's do that. Let's connect right away.
Yes, I will give you the information so you connect with this brother. Let me tell you something. I love him. I love Valerie. I've met God has sent some dynamic people for War Cry, and I thank God for that. See, I thank God for that. This program would never get too big that I can't take a break to thank God for the people that he has put in my life. War Cry. And War Cry was situated. It was started by the Holy Spirit, and we bring nobody here unless I'm directed by God to bring on here. Now, Pastor, did you want to say something to Noah? Because you've got a dynamic program too.
Yeah, Noah, the scripture says, money answereth to all things. People, incarcerated people, they need money. And I find that when you teach them a good trade, and part of my teaching, I also help them mentally also. I tell them, first of all, I teach them how to run their accounts, the physical account, how to pay their child support, how to do stuff like that. We just don't teach them biomedical technician engineering. We don't teach them just fixing like medical equipment. We also teach them how to run their lives and make sure they do it. So this a program we starting up now because of COVID. So I want to know, is is there any area that I can help you in any way to train these guys? And I know you're in Boston. I'm in New York. I don't know whichever way that I can help.
Now let's connect, because New York's only 4 hours away. I lived in Brooklyn the last 3 years. I just moved back to Mass because the work started picking up a lot more. My wife's also a nurse, and she's going. So I think it's very important. I almost died probably like it's probably 6 months ago because of not going to the hospital, because dealing with that trauma that I dealt with on the inside. So that, and also have anyone teach them a trade is that's helping their kids. And one thing that we're working on in the juvenile system, in juvenile system right now with the youth, is doing a speaker series, because a lot of the youth, I didn't know that all these different jobs exist. And I always thought being a nurse was something that's only was for women, because that's something that was taught by the patriarch system. And my wife make mad money, so I'm like, I should have been a nurse. But a lot of these men none of these youth don't know the things that they could actually do with their hands, or different careers that will really aid in the system in life. They think it might just be whatever they've seen, like on TV or football, basketball, hip hop. You know what I'm saying? But we need to expose them to all these different things, and that'll definitely be helpful, because I also have resources out there in my resource justice community in New York as well.
Because this is our reality. People don't want to deal with our reality. We thank God for all our success stories, but we got to deal with the urban problems that we are facing as well. No child left behind. It can no longer be the attitude, I have mine, you get yours, because it's like the haves versus the have-nots. Now, we can see the ratio of people going into the institutional systems. They're taking our Black men away from our Black women, and they're not having any choices. See, they're building more prisons, but they're not building schools. We think about the pipeline from school to prison, and we're dealing with something. We've got to get our hands dirty. We've got to get our hands dirty. We got to take off our nails and get our hands into the dirt, period. We spend more on Valentine's Day than we do on helping people. We'll go out and buy all this stuff, and it's only making the white system richer. Do you buy from just Black flower owners or Black candy distributors? No, we don't. We've got to think about circling our money back into organizations that are producing. Mr. Travel, 1 minute, come in. Would you have a question or a comment?
I have a comment. The comment is that we have to continuously put our nose to the grindstone. We cannot continue to act like things do not exist and say, oh well, but what you gonna do about it? See, it's oh well, but what are we going to do about it? And that's what, as a Black community, we need to stop doing. We need to stop saying, well, as long as my child is taken care of, as long as my grand is taken care of, as long as uncle's taken care of, I'm not worried about it. Wrong attitude. We have to be concerned.
That's the wrong attitude, because the Jews have a thing they say, that if one child that's born could be the savior of the world. So they treat every child special. We talk about the bad kids versus the good kids. All of them are our children. And why are those kids not doing as well? Because we have a corrupted school system with bad school curriculums and bad urban neighborhood, a corrupted justice system that want these kids to go repeat the same cycle. We don't put our money where our mouth is. We don't support organizations like Transformational Prison Project. We want these organizations to struggle. Why do our organizations have to struggle when we named all the billionaires? Why can't somebody give Transformational Prison Projects $1 billion? I don't blame him for not wanting to take government money with restrictions. We've got to do better. Valid.
I would say that I commend Noble and his fellow guys. I can tell you a situation that happened to me. I just recently had a meeting with the first woman appointed to the United States Attorney in Kansas. And this woman when she was asked how did she feel knowing that she was the first woman appointed, she looked across the table and said, I don't want to act like it's not a big deal because it's a big deal. But to me, I was raised with women that were in power positions. And this was a white woman. And I have said this for the last 5 years. We as Black people need to get past saying, if I can just get my foot in the door. We need to prepare our children to know that they belong in that door and to take those positions. And I will treat and teach my daughters and my sons that same thing that I witnessed about a month ago. So with that, I would pray that all of us start grabbing our children and the kids in the community and teaching them that they own that position and they belong there, and to always strive to be on top and to help each other get there as well.
Now, before we turn it back over to Noble, War Cry has we're going to have a slam poem contest. That's what you see up there. We want our kids to express themselves. The award is $100, but it's so much more. We want our kids to be able to express themselves. So I tell each and every panel member, please have kids. It's I think we put it on there from 6 to 17. Have kids begin to write and express themselves. Our young people don't know how to express themselves. They sit behind games all day and express violence to these violent games. And then we wonder why we're dealing with so many attitudes and so much violence. We're allowing our kids to learn how to use guns by these guns that they play on these games. We are learning them instead of making them sit down, begin to read, and to know their history. We are kings and queens, and we need to know who we are. This is our Black history. And no Transformational Prison Project is our Black History Company of the Month. And we're going to do whatever we can and spread the word. I have your digits and I will be spreading it all over, and which I've already did, and I will continue to do so. This is War Cry, and we are about our Father's business. Noble, last words before we go. What would you like to leave our audience with before we sign off until next week at 11 a.m.? Noble, closing words.
I just like to say, hurt people, and help people. And just thank you for listening and being here for us and supporting what we're doing. Thank you.
Noble, when the first time I seen you guys, I fell in love with you as I did with Val, because guess what? We are about social justice, to speak up against injustice and to call it out. This is War Cry, another great program, another great panel. Remember to send your children's name in, Violet, Noble, those kids you want us to pray for. Send them in to warcry.children@gmail.com, and we will be praying for them. Remember, it is God who frees us and liberates us, but we've got to be active with the word of God. This is War Cry. I love you guys. See you next week. Stay tuned. Mothers Against Violence next week. Bye. This is War Cry. We're on the wall crying out for our children, our communities, our schools, our churches, our families. This is War Cry. Welcome to our reality. Gun violence. Chicago, Philly, Detroit, New York, Atlanta, just to name a few. Our Black children are dying day by day. This is War Cry. Police brutality. Hands up. Don't move. I can't breathe. Hashtag Black Lives Matter. Hashtag All Lives Matter to Christ. This is War Cry. Drugs, rape, mass shootings, school violence. This is War Cry, galvanizing people to pray for our children and to take action. Let's march on Washington. We want prayer back in you. This is War Cry, candles, memorials in every corner in our neighborhood. Who died this weekend? Oh no, not Miss Martha's grandson. This is War Cry. He was only 16. His brother died last year. He was only 13. This is War Cry. We the people. We're the elected officials. This is War Cry. We need the church. Where's the church? Only on Sundays. Get to the streets, church. We need you out there. This is War Cry. Girl, be gone. Boy, be gone. Mothers crying. Fathers being locked up. Welcome to our reality. Identity crisis. This is War Cry. Oh, they're trying to remove our history off the textbook. Oh, critical race theory? It makes them feel bad. It's our reality. Fake reality shows. We want the real truth. Stay woke. This is War Cry. HBCUs under attack. This is War Cry. Equal pay for what we do. We want a reparation. This is War Cry. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Wait a minute. Is that somebody else they're burying that looks like us? Only 12. This is War Cry. Oh, let us come together and pray for our young people, pray for our communities, pray for our schools, pray for our churches, pray that the government gives us what we need, a fair opportunity. This is War Cry, home of the brave, land of the free. Who's free? Our men are locked up. This is War Cry. Hashtag mothers against gang violence. Hashtag fathers who love their sons. Hashtag what would Jesus do? This is War Cry. I know who goes before.